Alright guys, a quick update from day 2. The wind is actually pretty good and the direction is perfect. It could be a little bit stronger. I'm on the 5.4 now with the 44 and my miles are around 37 knots at the moment, so it's pretty alright, but I think I have some trimming to do to get the maximum out of the sail. And which is pretty nice is that we have a transport by car back to the start, so you don't have to sail back the whole nautical mile. Anyway, I'm going to put a little more downhaul on the sail now and go out again. And I'm taking the GoPro now so you can see.
Alright guys, I'm actually back home and I'm doing the outro from here. And this was actually a pretty fantastic day. In the morning we had the best conditions, and because the water was pretty flat, the wind was around 25 knots in the morning, but because it was so super flat and no chop or waves rolling in, I did the best mile in the morning actually on the 44 speed with the 5.4 in 25 knots, and I did I think 37.65 knots. And yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with that, because for me that's an improvement of over 2 knots on the nautical mile. Before I had I think 35 knots on the nautical mile, and I improved it now to 37.65, so that's pretty good for me. But yeah, to be honest, I wanted a little bit more, because the wind was so perfect and the conditions were so perfect in the morning. I thought that I could maybe tune the sail a little bit better and go even faster, but unfortunately after I did 2 runs, the wind just dropped, and after the wind came back it changed direction. So when the wind came back it was a lot more broad, and there were rolling waves or rolling chop on the course, which made it pretty difficult to do a good nautical mile. In fact, I did do my best top speed later in the day, I think with 41.5 knots on the max speed, but I unfortunately couldn't do any better miles, because at the end of the run there was a lot of chop, which slowed me down. Also, some of you guys were asking or mentioning that it would be interesting to compare the speeds of the speedboard to that of the slalom board, and actually on that day that's exactly what I did. I took my 44 speed and I also had my 80 liter Falcon board, which is I think 56 centimeters wide, so 12 centimeters wider than my speed board, and I compared the speeds of those two. And to be honest, there's not that much difference in the speeds. With the 80 liter I did a mile of around 35.5 knots later in the day, and I did a top speed of 40 knots with the 80. And yeah, with the 44 I did my better mile in the morning, obviously, with 37.65 knots. And I also got my top speed on the 44 later in the day, but actually that was with 6.2 and not with the 5.4. So I did the 41.5 knots on the 6.2 later because it was not so much wind anymore. But probably the coolest thing of the day was to watch Antoine Albeau go hard on the course, because as I mentioned, later in the day there was rolling chop, and Antoine actually didn't arrive in the morning but later in the day, and he did his best speeds later in the day on the rolling chop with over 40 knots on the nautical mile, which is pretty impressive on its own. But then I think he decided the conditions weren't good enough for flat out speed surfing. So what he did was actually he took the foil and he did the nautical mile world record on the foil, which was pretty impressive to watch. And he wasn't even in the straps with his back foot while he was doing the nautical mile. And I think he did a nautical mile of 30.7 knots on the foil. And yeah, that's actually the world record. So that was pretty impressive to watch, and it looked like he might crash any moment. Also, I don't know how he went over the sandbanks because they were actually only that deep. And as you know, foil mast is like that deep. Maybe he did slalom around the sandbanks, or he just kept the foil up while he was going over them. Anyway, that was pretty cool to watch. And sail with Antoine Albeau on the run is always fun. Anyway, I hope you liked the video of the second day of the Prince of Speed nautical mile record attempt. And yeah, stay tuned because I got one more video coming from that. And that's actually the windiest day. So make sure you subscribe and like this video to not miss anything on the next videos. See you then, guys.